Reminder, you can be in touch with the programme at any time by emailing me direct, chris.mann@bbc.co.uk. That's M-A-N-N, of course. I'm there on Twitter at chrismannbbc. Our telephone number 08000 85 95 96. And on the tweet, it's 81333. Start your message with the word CAM. Suggestions of stories, ideas, comments, and or questions, please direct them to me. Now, the former England rugby player Matt Dawson is calling for greater awareness of tick-borne diseases. Around 3,000 new cases of Lyme disease are reported in the UK each year. And he contracted that very disease following a tick bite whilst training in the centre of London. The disease, which in Matt's case was life-threatening, well, it put his whole life on hold. Now, the vet and telly presenter James Greenwood is also urging pet owners to protect their pets and themselves. And I spoke to them both earlier and asked Matt when he realised that something was very wrong.
2015, actually, I saw a rash develop on my back. Well, my wife saw it, and then having a checkup in the next couple of weeks, realised that it was Lyme disease. Came back positive. The infection had got into my heart, sort of altered the function of my heart, and therefore I had to go in and have a couple of procedures over the next 18 months, all from Lyme disease. It's a disease that tends to attack vital organs when it's given half the chance. But, thankfully, I found it relatively quickly. But unfortunately, there are far too many cases. Thousands of new cases of Lyme disease are reported each year, and a lot of those reports, they've had Lyme disease for a long time, years, and it can be quite debilitating if it's in your system for years, which is why I wanted to increase the awareness a little bit more.
Obviously, we're quite a rural county here in Cambridgeshire, and we've got lots of sheep and other animals around the place. I remembered ticks as a kid from having holidays at the west coast of Scotland in the wilds of Argyllshire, whatever else. It was one of those things that you faced. But you actually contracted this in a suburb of London, is that right, in Chiswick?
Yeah, in West London. Yeah, not a place maybe that you would, I suppose, potentially associate with ticks. But I think the understanding of how ticks can be now very dangerous to humans and not just to animals, the understanding of the fact that ticks are not particularly fussy. In my case, it was probably a pet dog running around in the park, and the tick jumped off the dog, was in the grass for a little bit. I've done some training, and the ticks jumped onto me, and the rest, unfortunately, is history. So it's a growing concern because there's not a lot known as far as the human prevention of Lyme disease. There isn't really any, which is why actually it's great that we can focus on the more animal side of the prevention, because the work that Bristol University and MSD have done over the years have made it very apparent that if we can somehow prevent ticks going onto animals and make their owners aware of the diseases of ticks, then it's going to help, hopefully, lower some of those cases year to year.
Let's bring in James Greenwood, vet and telly presenter, of course. Morning, James.
Morning.
And you can give us some stats, because there's been a big operation here to find out just how widespread these ticks are, particularly on dogs.
Absolutely. So the work of the Big Tick Project, it's the largest study of its kind. It studied over 12,000 dogs, collected more than 6,000 ticks. And one thing that we found is that almost 1 in 3 dogs are actually carrying a tick. So I think from the work that the Big Tick Project has done, we can see that not only ticks they're changing in their behaviour, they're becoming more widespread, but also we're seeing a change in how long they're around for. So with, for example, with climate change, with wetter summers and warmer winters, we're now seeing a tick season that's far longer than it ever used to be, and we're seeing new species of tick coming into the country as well. So there is definitely a growing concern, and I think that's why we're so keen to sort of get behind the Big Tick Project.
I have to say, listening to Matt's story, I'm astonished. I don't know about you, but I've grown up, not saying around ticks all my life, but they've been a constant presence. I live next to sheep now, where I am in Cambridgeshire, and I'm a bit concerned by it, and I guess I should be.
Yeah, I think it's I mean, Lyme disease in our pet animals, for compared to the number of dogs that we see that get bitten by ticks, thankfully the incidence of Lyme disease does still seem to be quite uncommon. That's as it is now. The question is what's happening, and is that going to change?
And are we talking all animals or just specific ones?
There are certain animals that are more prone to ticks. So certainly some of the wild animals, so deer, if you have a lot of deer in the area, you tend to find that that's associated with a higher tick prevalence. But we do see them predominantly on dogs. Cats as well, we do see it, although Lyme disease does seem to be even more uncommon in cats. And deer, we see it really quite commonly in.
And Matt, all the more frightening for you because you're such a fit guy. Sport's been such a part of your life. To have something like this must have really brought you to a standstill.
It did, absolutely that. From being very active and keeping myself fit and cycling and general activity to really having to monitor my heart activity and bringing my heart rate down, daily medication to help that, regular checkups. It has been a significant life changer for me.
So James, let's leave people with some advice.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what does a tick look like and how would you know it's on your skin?
It's quite hard to describe that, really. They sort of look like a leathery pea, I would say. So it kind of, by the time that they've eaten a good blood meal, they can swell up to the size of a pea. Sometimes they're a lot smaller, sometimes they can be a bit bigger, and they're buried deep within the skin. So it's very important, if you do find a tick, not to be tempted to try and just pull the tick away from the skin. It's quite important that you use something called a tick hook, which you can get from vets or pet shops. And the idea behind that is that you slide the hook underneath the tick, and then you have to twist the tick out of the skin. And then that will take away the head and mouth parts as well as the main body of the tick. It's important to check your pets daily, so looking over their fur and checking all the nooks and crannies, looking to see if you can spot any signs of ticks, and like I say, safely remove them. And there's also a number of products that you can use to prevent ticks, so if you're looking for ways to actually try and prevent the tick from attaching in the first place, or if they do attach to the pet, to then be able to kill them. And those, again, if you speak with your vet, there's a number of licensed, very effective products. There's a sprays, there's spot-ons, there's a collar, there's a chewable tablet that you can use. So there's lots of options to try and reduce the risk of a tick actually attaching to your pet.
Okay, Matt and James, thank you so much for joining us on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire this morning.
Thank you.